I woke up with the sun coming through the window. Everything was calm. Today was the day of Toxcatl, a ceremony that only happens once a year, the moment we connect with our gods and our people come together in the most important celebration. I helped my mother prepare the copal, the decorations, the flowers that fill the house with colors and scents. The air was full of sweet smoke, and in every corner of the village you could feel the anticipation. People started to arrive, children running, elders carrying drums. The music began softly, but I knew that rhythm would grow until it filled the sky. This was a day to celebrate life and the history we carry on our skin. I went out to the center of the village in my embroidered dress, with the feathers my mother helped me put on. The dust stirred up by the crowd mixed with the copal smoke. The dances began, slow at first with firm steps, then faster, with bodies spinning to the beat of the drums. I glanced at the Spaniards standing in the square. They didn't seem to understand, but they didn't interfere either. They watched in silence, as if they respected the ceremony. I went back home to rest a little. My mother was making tortillas, and the smell of maize in the kitchen made me smile. Through the window, I saw the village men gathered, speaking in low voices with the Spaniards. I didn't understand everything they were saying, but one man's voice turned firm and harsh. I stayed silent, trying not to worry. In the square, the dances continued, and the village seemed to want to ignore what was happening. As evening fell, we lit a large bonfire in the square. People gathered around it, singing and dancing with more energy. The fire shadows drew figures on the adobe walls, and the sky turned red. I felt alive, part of something much bigger than myself. But at the corner, I saw the Spaniards approach again. Their gazes were no longer just curious. Now they were hard, full of intent. A chill ran down my back, but I tried not to show fear. The music grew louder, and for a moment, everything seemed normal again. We ate together in silence, warm tortillas in my hands, the spicy chili burning my tongue. My mother looked at me with tired but determined eyes. The Spaniards stayed nearby, exchanging words with the village chief. There was tension, but the celebration continued. Children ran, women laughed. The Spaniards returned. They walked in formation, closer together than before. This time, they were not unarmed. Now they wore swords at their belts. They didn't hide them, and even though the sun was setting, the metallic gleam could still be seen through the smoke of the bonfire. They came to the center of the square without asking permission. One of them spoke, not to the chief, but to the priest. He said they had to interrupt the ceremony, that their gods didn't approve of these rituals. He said it in a firm voice, but without shouting, like it was an order that wasn't up for discussion. The priest stayed still. He didn't answer. He just looked back at him. The chief stepped forward. He asked the Spaniards to leave out of respect. He said it in Nahuatl, but in that slow, deliberate way that is understood in any language. Leave. This is not your time. This is not your place. And then a Spaniard, young, nervous, drew his sword. It was a clumsy, quick movement, as if he had done it without thinking. He raised it over his shoulder, and before anyone could scream or stop him, he brought it down with force. The blade entered the priest's chest like it was cutting through water. The scream came too late. First the body fell, then the drum, and only then, silence. No one moved, no one breathed. The square froze. Someone shouted, "Murderer!" But we didn't know who to point at. The Spaniards regrouped, as if waiting for a reaction, as if they knew they had just lit the spark. The women began to gather the children. The elders stepped back. Some men picked up stones. Others didn't know whether to run or stay. The music didn't play again. A woman screamed. I don't know if it was for the priest or for her son, but her voice broke everything, as if she gave us permission to panic. I saw my cousin run toward the fallen body. The Spaniard who had stabbed the priest shoved him with his shield. It was sharp. The blow threw him back and his head struck a stone. That's when it all began. The other Spaniards drew their swords. They didn't shout orders, there was no warning. They just did it. They moved fast, like they had rehearsed this, like it wasn't the first time they destroyed a celebration. I saw one of them stab a dancer in the back. He still wore his headdress. He fell with arms wide open, like he was still dancing. His blood stained the feet of another dancer, who didn't even realize at first. I was standing next to my mother. She pulled me by the arm so hard I nearly fell. She yelled something, but I didn't hear her. Everything was noise, screams, clashing swords, falling bodies. The drum that had once marked the rhythm of the dance now seemed to pound inside my chest. We ran. There were people everywhere, but no one knew where to go. Some hid behind the altars. Others ran toward the river. I saw a child alone, his face smeared with copal, standing in front of his grandfather's body. He didn't move. He just stared. My mother gripped my hand tightly. She told me not to let go, not to look back. But I did. I saw one of ours leap at a Spaniard with an obsidian knife. He reached him, cut his neck, but didn't kill him. The Spaniard fell to his knees, and another came from behind and stabbed our man in the waist. He lifted him, the sword still inside. We hid behind a mud hut. My mother held me, pressed me against her chest like she could wrap around me and make me disappear. Like when I was a child and there were thunderstorms. But this time, the thunder was screaming. Someone set the textile shop on fire. The smoke made us cough. From there, we could see the square. Almost none of our people were left there. Only bodies. Some on their knees. Others sprawled out. Some still moving. The Spaniards walked among them, finishing them off. Without hurry. Like they had already won. And then I saw my father. He walked toward the center with his arms raised. He carried no weapons. He was speaking. I couldn't hear what he said, but I knew him. He was probably begging them to stop, to not do this. A Spaniard looked at him. Then, barely moving, he raised his arquebus. My mother screamed. I closed my eyes before I heard the shot. We crawled behind the houses. We were trying to reach the maize field. My mother pushed me, shielded me, told me to keep going. Now and then someone shouted our names, but we didn't answer. No one could know we were there. We passed an old man who was wounded. He looked at us without speaking. He had a hole in his chest, but he was still alive, just waiting. My mother pushed me into a space between some rocks under dry branches. She whispered not to make a sound, not to move. She touched my face, just once. Then she stood up and ran in the other direction, drawing the sound of her steps away from mine. I saw her for the last time through the smoke, her red dress glowing amid the dust, and then she disappeared. I closed my eyes. I didn't pray. I just stayed still. Maybe if I didn't move, if I didn't exist, the world would go on without me. But then I heard branches snap, a crack, slow footsteps, searching. I opened my eyes just a little. I saw a shadow, stopping in front of me. I didn't breathe. The branch lifted. I saw his eyes, dark, empty. He looked at me. He said nothing. He just raised his hand and shouted something. The others came running, many, too many. I tried to move, but it was already too late. They grabbed me by the arms, rough. They dragged me out. The light struck my eyes. Everything smelled like blood and smoke. I looked at the square one last time, and I knew I wasn't getting out of there. I closed my eyes. This time forever.